Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Film Voyage. Today we have with us the writer, the co-writer, and the co-editor of the mind-blowing, amazing Sony Live series, Cam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story. And of course, he's written films like Bangistan. He's written the very popular Amazon show, the first season of Inside Edge. Thank you so much for doing this. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me here.
Starting with that, so it's something else. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that before. I mean, it's being compared with Wolf of Wall Street the most. But what I found it to be very close to, in terms of it's structured and everything. With Adam McKay is The Big Shot.
Okay.
Uh, because you're not this is something because in The Big Shot they're actually making fun of the audience that you don't know these jargons
Yeah.
that's going around, but here we are trying to catch up. So my first question comes from from somewhere along the lines of, when you're writing something like that needs so much detailing of the milieu that it is set in, and so how do you go about it in terms of, was there ever this thought that maybe audience will get this what we're doing or not? How did you go about that?
Uh, so a lot of people have compared it with Wolf of Wall Street, but honestly, that was never a reference for us, uh,
Yeah,
especially the tone and the kind of film it is.
yeah,
Uh, and honestly, there was no reference. Uh, like we said, okay, the episode 6 might be like the post, and we would like the 10th episode to feel like the ending of the Breaking Bad, where we slow down things and everything starts falling apart. But there was no reference. Uh, uh, I also do not know, in long form there are too many financial thrillers. There is Billions, but again, Billions tone wise is a very different show. Uh, so when I came into the project, I had no idea about the share market. Now the good thing was my co-writer Saurabh, he knew share markets. Uh, so so what happened was that I started questioning him while we were writing, and he started explaining it to me. So a lot of that explanation and a lot of those questions, eventually they became scenes in a way. And Hansal was very clear that we are not going to dumb it down. uh, you know, uh, Two brokers, two bankers cannot talk in the language where audience start feeling that, this is not their language. They are speaking because they want to explain it to me. Uh, I think that's where the disconnect happens. It's okay if they're not understanding.
yeah,
I also do not understand a lot of money market, a lot of share market, even after writing it. But we have to make you believe that what they are talking is, for example, they keep talking about a bank receipt, BR. Now you do not need to know what the BR is. All we want to just tell you that if this paper is missing, there is a problem. So the film, which actually was a reference for us, in a way, was a film called Margin Call, where there's a formula on the screen, and they never even show the formula, but we know, something is going to happen. This guy has discovered a formula. You never really understand it. Or I was giving a very random example of something like Avengers: The End Game, where somebody's trying to make a time machine.
yeah,
So they will use words and formulas, and on screen things will flash which will have no meaning, but at least you will believe this guy knows.
yeah,
So we were never trying to over explain things and dumb it down. We were just repeating important words, and I think audience are very intelligent. We try to dumb it down. And one learning from the scam is that if you challenge the audience, they are going to respond. And kind of films I like is where I start researching about the films.
yeah.
Therefore we like a Nolan film, because it begins when it ends. You start discussing about it once it ends. So yeah, we were never trying to over explain things. We were okay with it if audience didn't understand few things, but emotionally they should be with us.
Yeah.
So
So
that was the writing process. And yeah.
yeah, please go ahead. You're saying something.
No, I was saying, and for the numbers and the facts, book was always there. We had the access to Sucheta Dalal and Devashish Basu, and so one thing was we wanted to be accurate to, like. So good thing is, lot of market people. Our main worry was that if the market people see it, they shouldn't feel, oh, this has been completely dumbed down. This is not how it happens. So we were walking thin line where it has to work for the general audience, and it shouldn't feel dumbed down for people, who are market experts. And thankfully they are the one who have really liked it. And that was our worry, that we always thought it's going to be have a limited reach kind of subject. It was kind of cast it at, it is always going to have limited reach, but at least those people should say, okay, what have they done, it sounds fine. So that was the approach.
So you spoke about like when you came into the project, you had no idea about the stock
Yeah.
market. So take us back a little bit. How did this project reach you? Because I saw an interview where Hansal sir said that he read the book very early, like in 2005 or somewhere. And then when this show started, like in the making, how did you get attached to it, and what was the whole process like?
So I had just written Inside Edge, and Hansal had seen it. Hansal liked it. I had met couple of like informally Hansal at couple of parties, and that's how he knew me. And I think he suggested my name because he had seen Inside Edge, and that's how I came on the project. And the moment they said it's our Harshad Mehta, I had a very clear memory of Harshad Mehta when I was, I think 92. I must have been what 9, 10 when so that's when I had a very I come from a very small town in Uttaranchal, which is like kilometers away from Bombay and stock market. My parents are teachers. We have like that town has nothing to do with share market or money market and these kind of words. But I have a very clear memory of Harshad Mehta. That dialogue also ends up in the script where I remember people used to talk about that, uh, India का सबसे अमीर आदमी अरेस्ट हो गया है, and now he's in jail, और लग्जरी सब खत्म हो गई है, वो जूते के तकिए बनाकर सो रहा है. That dialogue even comes back, and mother says, I've read this, that तुमको तकिया भी नहीं दिया था. So I have that very clear memory. I was 9 years old. So imagine how popular this man was.
Yeah.
People were gossiping, and this is before internet. The news is through newspaper, magazines, and a couple of news bulletins at prime time. So he was that popular. The moment they said, it's about Harshad Mehta, and we have the rights for the book. I didn't know it's going to be. The book is quite detailed, quite complicated to read. But I said yes, one, because it's no point repeating yourself. I always feel writing is also something, you're going to give your 1 year, 1.5 year, 2 years to a project. You should learn something while you are doing that. It's no point repeating it. So it's like you never know how audience are going to react to what you are writing. So at least that I keep saying that journey has to be fun. You should be a different person. You should have some kind of experience, and the kind of experience you have gone through writing Scam, that was great, because just to revisit those locations and meet these people who are actually involved in this Scam, people who cannot be named, and just going to BSc, doing this research, it has been experience. So yeah, so that's how I came on the project. I don't know why that you will have to ask Hansal why he thought I can write it, but yeah.
Yeah, so you spoke about you're from Uttaranchal. Where are you from exactly?
Yeah. There's a place called Srinagar. It's not.
Yeah. I'm from Dehradun, so
Srinagar. So now my parents now Dehradun is the home. Because my parents after retirement have shifted to Dehradun. But yeah.
Talking about the research, how long did you guys what was the research like? Because of course, and you had written Inside Edge, which was again a world where you need to have a lot of inside information about the things. And again, the same. So what was the process from Inside Edge that you took in Scam, and what was the researching like?
See, there's a very clear difference. The thing with cricket is everyone knows cricket in India. Everyone is expert on cricket. But we realize that research is important. The betting part we are researching a lot of. I don't remember, it's a 5th or 6th episode where there's explanation about betting. So that came from research, and that was fascinating. And we realized that research will be important. And research is not just about these numbers, dates, facts, because that's in the book. That's the easy part. That's in the book. You have confusion, you go to Sucheta, you go to Debashish, they will clear it. That was the easy part of the research. Recreating that world, like nobody knew. It was like we said, okay, if Harshad is going to the bank, what is he talking?
Yeah.
You know, what is that language? How do these brokers talk? So that was the research we went into. Which so now what happens if you go to BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange, the ring where all these activities used to take place, that ring is now a conference hall because everything is electronic, digital, everything has shifted to computers. Uh, so that ring doesn't exist. So we have to we ended up seeing a lot of these old documentaries, some French documentaries, some BBC documentaries about the ring and what used to happen in the ring. Also now there are a lot of young brokers, so they do not have an idea of about the era of the 90s. So um, we met this maintenance guy who was there from 1979, and he said, "I will show you what used to happen and what this Manu Mundra was like, and what used to happen, and what is Mohra trading, and how when this character who Manu Mundra is based on used to walk with money, and he was a great guy because he used to tip everyone." So we started getting those kind of stories. Then we started meeting broker from that era. That was what is the language. So a lot of people keep saying that that part is usme kafi dialogue baji hai. Like one of the criticism is, oh, everyone speaks in one liner. There's a lot of dialogue baji. But if you sit with these brokers, a lot of those lines indirectly are from how they speak. Because you have to understand, they're trying to sell you something. They speak in that one liner, in that metaphor. So if you sit with all those examples, all those one liners, it's not like exactly that, but it's like when Karan came on board to write the dialogue, we said this is the language we want. It has to have the dialogues and one liner because that's how they speak. So a lot of research was about that, and meeting people who cannot be named, of course, but who actually knew what was happening. If the press conference was happening, what was happening, behind the door, behind the closed doors, what was happening. And so book, if you read the book is like book doesn't tell you how the book was written, where the sources came from. So that was also a research. Like Suchita used to ask, why are you asking what I was doing, and who this person was? Are you not making a show about Harshad Mehta? But it was also about to take it beyond the book, and make it about how the book was written. And some of the like people think a lot of this which feels like completely fictional, completely dramatized, are some of the most real things which happen.
For example?
For example, the car thing, where he buys that car.
Yeah.
Now that's a completely out of Bollywood film, but that happened. When Suchita first time meets that source who's called DT, Debashi keep referring to Karamchand, we had to tone it down, because if we would have done how it actually happened, people would have said, oh, this is so straight from 80s Bollywood film. So some of it is actually, like the CBI officer asking someone to take the staircase. That actually happened. It happened with someone else, but because we were doing the composite, we did it with Perwani, but that actually happened. So a lot of things which feel like, oh, this is writers have imagined it. That part actually happened. Or the opening scene where Bellari walks in and gives that information, that actually happened.
Yeah, and that opening scene when he runs into R.K. Lakshman, उस moment में तो लगा कि अरे यार, I mean, it was like something else. We were totally taken into that world. They are actually naming people, and this is something very, and see that authenticity also comes in. एक बड़ी strange चीज होती है towards the end, like when Madhavan's character comes, he actually thrashes them कि तुम लोग ऐसी भाषा में बात करो ना जो मेरी समझ में आए. So because of that filminess is gone. So bringing like from the like you researched it beyond the book as well. Now, when you're dealing with a subject that actually happened, so how much of it did you feel that like from the book, how much of it did you feel that okay, this has to make to the screenplay, and how did you go about deciding कि screenplay में क्या रखना है और book क्या चीज book में ही रहने देनी है?
So book is quite complicated. The scam is much bigger. It involves many other brokers, and people keep saying. Therefore, I tweeted also that read the book. Book is the show is about Harshad Mehta. So Harshad Mehta is just part of it. It in few chapters. So it has, like, in the background we might say other brokers were arrested, other politicians were arrested, but it was always going to be about Harshad Mehta.
Yeah.
So that is what we took from the book, and some of the characters we it was composite, and whatever other information was in the book about other brokers and other politicians, other organizations, that we had to avoid. So it became about Harshad Mehta, and then again it also came from lot of other research which was beyond the book, which Sucheta and Debashish told us, and people they connected us to. So yeah, so it's based on the book, but it's not like a direct adaptation of the book, because that's impossible. It's a very complicated book. It's a non-linear. Also, I think they originally wrote the book in '93, and the scam went on. So they keep updating the book. So we were very clear we are going to dramatize. So a lot of these portions were. I think Debashish also did series of interviews with Harshad Mehta. So all those stories of him in Ghatkopar, and him going for that first job, and so all those stories are in the book. So whatever we feel that we can dramatize, those portions we took from the book, and we avoided everything which was about other brokers, and which was taking into other territory. It was always about trying to tell the Harshad Mehta story.
Yeah.
It's a little complicated process. You will have to read the book to really understand that. There's no simple way to explain it how we did it. It kept on changing as we were writing, and we kept going back to the book to check, okay, are the facts right? So a lot of timelines have been altered to make it more smooth, linear stories. Like probably the ACC, Polo, all these things were happening parallelly. The governor coming in, but we have given it more linear narrative. Which is not in the book, which is easier to do in the book also, because you're writing parallel, non-linear chapters. We had to find a linear way to tell the story.
So it's almost like, this could have gone into a territory of being a docudrama almost. Yeah. But it follows a very classical way of structuring the thing. Yeah. Like each episode ends on a particular high or a particular note. So when you're dealing with a subject that's it's a true story and there's data around and research is involved, how do you go about structuring these episodes, like one by one with each episode? What was that like, writing those arcs?
So yeah, again we didn't treat it, because it was always going to be mini series. Usually what happens when people start talking about a series, there are always these things that every episode has to be 40, 45 minutes, 35 minutes. There has to be a hook point, otherwise audience will stop, and then the attention span is short and all that. So there are a lot of data, and we didn't fall for that. We said, okay, this is like one film, like a 9-hour film. So we will end every episode where it feels logical, rather than worrying, oh, abhi 45 minutes, okay, we need to find an end. So if you see, like, every episode is like from a 1 hour to a 35-minute episode, 40-minute episode. So we started finding these logical points to end the episode or chapters without worrying about a cliffhanger hai ki nahi. Honestly, I do not feel there are cliffhangers in this show. It's just like one.
Yeah, when I said cliffhangers, I meant like there is of course an escalation in each episode, and it reaches a point where it goes on for the other one.
Yeah. So it's like finding the logical point to end that chapter from Harshad Mehta's life. If you see, not only I'm talking about his, like, I think first episode covers from 79 to, I think it goes to till 83. I think it goes. Then the next chapter goes from 83 to, I think 86. I think it. Then the third chapter goes from 86 to almost 91 end.
Yeah.
And then it slows down. And then episode 6 happens in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So we were not worried about that, every episode has to follow a same pattern. We were not usually that's what happened. That's what you were told, that, it has to have, a same kind of narrative. A lot of shows do that, but probably, that story allows them to do that. We knew it's a mini series. It could have been a 2-hour film, but the material allowed itself that we could tell it in 10 parts. So yeah, so we started finding these logical ends to every episode, every chapter. We did discuss that can it be completely non-linear at one point, where Harshad's rise and his fall in the sense where the scam is being discovered.
Yeah.
They are narrated parallelly till that, so probably still 6 episodes where the news comes out. So that structure was discussed at one point. But then we realized that unless you have seen who Harshad Mehta was, and it's very important for audience to see that rise, rather otherwise they will not understand what's happening. They wouldn't care whether this guy is falling, and if this scam was, people are going to find about this scam. So then we said, okay, the opening scene is going to be in present, but then we are going to tell you a linear story.
So, like with the opening scene, it's about the day it got discovered. Like it got Sucheta Dalal was informed of the scam. Now you chose that point to start the story with. So with that, it gets identified. The identification is made that okay, this is what the show is about, and then we go there. So as you said, at one point you guys were grappling with the idea of making it non-linear. Why did you choose like if you chose this point as a kind of an anchor point through which we can go back and then come forward? Was there at any point this thought that maybe as we go along these episodes, that point might be forgotten, that this is where we have to reach almost?
No, but we are always going to remind you about that point.
Yeah.
And that's a logical point. See, we also want to say it's not set in present. The story opens in 92.
Yeah.
So we wanted that the audience understand what 92 was like. So therefore it was important to have that voiceover in the beginning, the setup 90, that this is before the computers, before a mobile, just give you feel of that, and then give you a hook point that somebody who starts from Ghatkopar Chawl, how did he manage to do a scam of 500 crores? So even if you forget, that's okay, but you are in in the beginning, you have that hook point, and then we are going to remind you, when you see Bellary again, oh, he's the same guy.
Yeah.
And then in 6 we give you a flashback of what happened.
Yeah.
Or when you see Sucheta Dalal again, you say, oh, she is going to at some point join Times of India. She is going to find out about this scam.
Did you guys write it like a 10-hour film, or was that ever this thing that okay, let us write it linearly for a 10-hour long film script and then find what all can be turned into episodics? Was that the process?
Actually, this has been very long because I think this would be 2018 beginning. But I was looking at the beat sheet, and beat sheet quite close to what the final thing is now. It might be that some scenes from 5th has gone to 6th, or some has gone to 7th. But I think flow-wise, once we decided it's going to be non-linear, I think this was the structure. Of course, there will be scenes in between, and scenes would have moved from, even in editing, it would have moved from 8th to 9th. But once we have this structure, I think this is what we followed.
So while editing, how much of it like you co-edited the show as well? When you were co-editing this thing and you had structured the whole thing, and as you said that you guys weren't worried about putting it on like a higher note or ending it on a cliffhanger, how much of your screenplay was affected during the edit? Like how much did it escalate it further, or were you just focused on telling the story that you had written?
Because I also edit while I'm writing, I have a little bit of idea how these scenes are going to cut. How it's going to end, what kind of, probably there will be a music piece here. So I need, whether I'm editing or not, I need to know that as a writer. That is my process, that I need to understand how this montage will play. So I don't think it has really changed from the screenplay. But it was also important that I was not reacting to it as a writer, and I was reacting to the what has been shot, to the footage, uh, and see whether it's working or not. Like sometimes you write a scene, and then you see the footage and say, why do I need this scene? Because the other scene is already explaining it, or the visual is already explaining it. Uh, so I was reacting to more to what was shot rather than what was written. I did go back to script a couple of times and say, why was it written like this? Uh, but yeah, so I don't think it changed drastically from what the screenplay was. Uh, I don't think even the endings endings really changed. I think probably episode 2 because we didn't shoot something. Uh, but otherwise, like the 10th, we were very clear it is going to end like that. I think it's in the script that interview voice comes back and it intercuts between the family coming and him being taken to hospital and uh, that voiceover. I think that's in the script. The few scenes might have changed, like the editing might have changed a little bit. The sequence of the scenes might have changed it, but that ending was there. Or eighth ending where he makes the phone call or the press conference. I think these all endings, including the songs.
Yeah.
We didn't get the right for all the songs, but songs we knew that we are going to end it with the songs.
Oh, yeah, why was that like what did that signify, like those songs? Was it just for the period accuracy, or
Period
what was
accuracy also. I also, yeah. So some things you see. Such scripts give you freedom to go back and revisit that era, and we have
yeah,
done that. We have done that throughout, and those are the things I think. See, I like watching things like that. Even in all these superhero films or anything
yeah,
which is pop, you like to put these kind of references, and therefore RK Lakshman, suddenly everyone liking that. So RK Lakshman was always there. He had couple of other scenes, but he was not there in the opening. The guy comes and meets the receptionist, and Hansa said, "Why are we doing this? We have RK Lakshman. Let him bump into RK Lakshman," because we knew that Suchita had told us that RK Lakshman used to roam around the office and look at the newspapers, trying to think about what he's going to draw. Now that's
oh,
an
so
interesting
so
character.
Bellary didn't actually run into RK
No,
Lakshman.
he didn't. I'm not sure he ran into RK Lakshman, uh, but yeah, so he probably came to the receptionist, but that would have been boring to watch. Now that walk becomes interesting when he's with RK Lakshman. So we
Definitely.
started putting I don't know how old you are, but that song, Ek Chidiya, Anek Chidiya,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which
We've
happens,
heard that.
yeah. No, because our co-writer, the current dialogue writer, didn't know how popular it was.
Okay.
So yeah, uh, so that was like it was written like that in the script, that
Yeah.
it's going to cut like that, it's going to play on TV. So we started using these references, uh, and so song became part of that. So if you even listen to that song, the lyrics somehow matches what is
Yeah.
happening on the screen, and it's in the complete contrast with the mood.
Yeah.
And 90s have this, that music has it's very different from what you hear now, and it has a
Definitely.
different sound, and so it's also representing the change in the culture. So yeah, so one brief was we have to because it's set in late 80s 90s, we have to see that it is also about the time period. Therefore the voiceover in the beginning says, वो हर्षद सिर्फ हर्षद मेहता का कहानी नहीं है, ये इंडिया का कहानी.
Yeah.
So that became very important for us. The difficult part in India is that it's very difficult to get these rights and references and those ads. Otherwise, we would have populated it a little more. Like there was a scene where Harshad Mehta, because he was a big cricket fan, they're sitting in Wankhede and watching a India-Australia test match. But the logistically, just putting one scene there, the budgets and logistics, it's not possible to do that. But it was written like that. It had more popular locations around Bombay. There were a lot of scenes in local trade, uh, or place like race course, uh, or when like I was tweeting when that income tax raid happens. That's the day India Sri Lanka '92 World Cup match was washed out. So he is looking at TV and disappointed because that match has been washed out. So that's again written in the script. So songs became it was logical to have those songs. It's great way to revisit that era, and also I like when the music is in complete contrast to the what's
Yeah.
happening in the visual, which is also with the opening track. You wouldn't think nobody would guess a track like this would be used for a financial thriller set in 90s.
Yeah, I mean, and no one skips the intro of that
Yeah,
of the show.
yeah,
9 episodes, no one skipped the intro
yeah,
because of the
yeah,
track. That was amazing.
yeah,
And even the songs like the Cobra episode, in the end, there's this
yeah,
Nagin song, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
is completely in tune with that.
yeah, yeah.
As you mentioned, because of the logistical factors, was that the reason why the show is lensed? I mean, of course, Hansal sir directed it, and but could you talk a little bit about how, as a director, what was it that he brought, to your script? Because as you mentioned, it's not very different from what's written on paper and then
Yeah.
the final film. What is it that he brought to it, and what is it that how much did his artistic voice influence your screenplay?
So it did. Like I'm saying, one he's a Bombay Gujarati. Like uh, he was growing in the same era.
Yeah.
And what happens is usually with when you see Gujaratis in Bollywood films, they are like I think that's with everyone, whether Punjabis, Bengalis, or Gujaratis, South Indians. We tend to it's almost like a caricature. So one thing was cast Gujarati actors, make it look real, and Hansal said, I will take care of that. You do not worry about writing that in the script. So a lot of these when I'm saying it has not changed, from the screenplay, I'm just talking about the structure and the scene flow. I honestly believe uh, it's not writer's medium. I was telling some in some other live also, I don't think that it's a writer's medium. I can write anything, it can be directed in 100 other ways. So what you see is Hansal's vision. It, People keep saying, oh, it's long form, it's writer's medium. They keep confusing it with the showrunner. In that case, the writer is the showrunner who has 100 other calls, like the costume and the casting and probably the look of it. Uh, Filmmaking is not writer's medium. If I was a good writer, I had a command over language, I will write a book. I wouldn't write a screenplay, because for a screenplay, you will have to think visually. So it does create a very strong foundation, but on that foundation, you can build anything. And nobody would care about the foundation if that building is not interesting to look at.
True.
So what you see is Hansal's vision, the way it has been shot, and the performances, and like like I keep saying, it's different from what you usually see in other Indian series, is that it has this space to it. एक ठहराव है उसके अंदर.
Ah.
So that also came into the editing and the way he shot it. There was no hurry. Ki acha abhi, will cut very quick, and so he gave every character a time. And just the vision, like what you see visually. Other thing is which we need to understand is that 90s and late 80s is a very difficult time period to create on screen.
True.
It's very easy to do something like a period, a Mughal era, or a British era. It's very easy because you can go shoot on sets, or you can find some lanes, bring some couple of old cars, and recreate it in somewhere. The problem with 90s is the city has not changed, but everything else has changed. The moment you put camera, like it's impossible to shoot on roads, because all cars have changed. So you will have to recreate all of that traffic. The moment you put camera, all the hoardings have changed. So there has to be this balance between, how do we show that Bombay and then keep it interior also, but it shouldn't like everything is interior. So that balance he brought in. That so people keep saying, but it has been done very smartly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's very difficult. I can promise you, in 80s, 90s, very difficult to shoot. Exteriors is almost impossible.
Yeah, even the lensing of the show is like very tele with shallow depth of field, so that we don't exactly, and the spaces are not as explored. But of course, because we're following characters. Now, talking about you spoke about. We'll come to the edit part a little later. the dialogue writing. You said that the language of this world is pretty much how it is in the show. Now there's this predicament as a writer that we get that once you're writing a scene, it almost at one after a point it start all the characters start sounding similar.
Yeah.
It's not a problem like one liners, but also giving those one liners characters that Pranav
Yeah.
सेठ ऐसे बात करेगा,
Yeah.
अश्विन ऐसे बात करेगा. वो चीज के बारे में जरा आप बताएं कि बिकॉज इसमें there's very clear demarcations कि ये हर्षद की दुनिया है, ये बेज हैं, ये बुल्स हैं. तो ऐसे क्या स्पेसिफिक चीजें थी जिनका आप लोगों ने इन टर्म्स ऑफ डायलॉग ध्यान रखा कि ये ऐसा होना चाहिए और ये मतलब उसके बारे में जरा बताएं.
So it's even in the book it's very clear कि जो जो bankers हैं, because they are all foreign bankers and probably studied outside India, उनका language different होगा than the जो brokers हैं, जो local brokers हैं, जो BSc का actual language जो है वो गुजराती ही है, क्योंकि शुरू में वो पारसी मारवाड़ी, तो वो जो टर्मिनोलॉजी है वो गुजराती ही है. तो वो तो बहुत क्लियर था. एंड इफ यू सी most of the dialogues are by Karan, but then Weber was there, and for all the technical stuff we were there. We said okay, we'll take care of all the technical. When the two bankers are talking, you give it a flavor, you give it a flavor, but we'll make sure that it doesn't sound like they are speaking in one liners, and or they are exactly who these brokers are. तो उनका वो जो ब्रोकर्स का लैंग्वेज है गुजराती, जो पूरा ग्रुप है वो करण ने वो फ्लेवर उसको कंप्लीटली दे दिया. Then he brought the same flavor with the CBI. तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली बिकॉज देयर वर 4 राइटर्स एंड हंसल एंड एक्टर्स, तो वो आई थिंक वो धीरे धीरे all these people became like they got their own identities. And therefore that language became, so at one point we were even thinking that we were trying to push it where because the governor is Tamil, and he meets this guy, the SEBI chairman, he's also Tamil. We were even thinking that should they talk in Tamil. So that is one freedom which I think OTTs give you and long form gives you. आप बहुत authentic हो सकते. And because there were Gujarati actors जो गुजराती और हिंदी के बीच में they shift, it doesn't look forced. एक बीच में ना वो केम शो डाल देते हैं तो they will become गुजराती. उससे वो हम बहुत क्लियर थे कि वो नहीं होना है.
उस तरह के डायलॉग में सर एक और चीज होती है कि जैसे सपोज गुजराती कैरेक्टर है, वो गुजराती में एक लाइन बोलेगा और तुरंत उसके बाद उसका हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन
करेगा.
हाँ, तो वो मतलब उतना नहीं था, बट एक आध जगह पे इन द अर्ली व्हेन ही इज विद हिज फैमिली,
लेकिन वो जिस तरह का गुजराती वो बोल रहा है, वो जो मुहावरे बोल रहा है, वो एक्चुअली वो कई गुजरातियों को भी समझ नहीं आएंगे. वो बेसिकली अगर मैं कबीर दास का एक दोहा बोलूं तो कोई मेरे को बोलेगा अरे, तो जहां पर उसको समझाया गया है वहां पर वो एक्चुअली शायद हर्षद को भी समझ में नहीं आया, तो अपने भाई को बोल रहा है कि अच्छा इसको एक्सप्लेन तो करो क्या बोल रहे हो आप. तो वो एक्सप्लेनेशन वहां पर कहीं पर होगा, या कई बार हम खुद ही इंग्लिश बोलकर हिंदी बोल देते हैं या लोकल लैंग्वेज बोलकर हिंदी बोल देते हैं. लेकिन वो एक्ट्रेस ने, क्योंकि एक्ट्रेस गुजराती हैं, दे नो कि वो क्या बोल रहे हैं, तो वो लैंग्वेज ऑटोमेटिकली कास्टिंग राइटिंग, बिकॉज 4 राइटर्स थे, वो डिफरेंट सबका इनपुट्स थे उसके अंदर, तो वो धीरे धीरे आई थिंक वो नेचुरली सब लोग डिफरेंट लगने लग गए. और उसमें एक्ट्रेस का भी कंट्रीब्यूशन डेफिनेटली होता है. मतलब कई कैरेक्टर्स होते हैं जो, मतलब मुझे लगता है कि गवर्नर का कैरेक्टर था बहुत मतलब बिल्कुल मैकेनिकल प्लेन सा कैरेक्टर था ऑन पेपर, बट what Anand Madhavan did with that character became one of the most interesting characters.
Yeah, and as you talk about the actors bringing it to like the lines that were in the screenplay, as you mentioned कि कई बारी जैसे हर scene, like we talked about how you wrote the episodes, let's talk about the scene writing of it. It's very उसमें भी मुझे ऐसा लगा कि it starts on a certain beat, and that beat and it ends with a certain recall or a certain turn on that beat, like almost like there's a beginning, middle and end में हल्का सा tag, हल्का सा twist. So scenes were written like that. Did you at any point feel that we're doing this for 9 episodes, and what if it starts getting repetitive, even in terms of the punchlines also, because Harshad is like he's got some great kick-ass one-liners. So did you feel that that okay, after one point people will be like, "Arey boss, abhi matlab itna, who talks like, I mean, of course we do not know him
Yeah.
and how he used to talk." Did you ever had that insecurity in terms of ki ye repetitive na ho jaye?
So we are always balancing it with the, when you see bankers and when you see these politicians and when you see other brokers, that balance is always there. कि उनका language completely different है. Also, what happens is you are taking risk with those one-liners at times, and uh, it depends on actor. I know, like I think Pranav Seth character, I think it's straight from a Bollywood film, but the way he does it and the way he makes it so real and so fun. So sometimes you have to take that risk, and you have to react like an audience when you're listening and Karan is narrating it to us. You have to react. We might say, oh, let's not do that with governor, but let's trust you because we are laughing, we are enjoying it, we think it's fun. That's our audience. That's the only way. If you are always trying to take that risk, and then depending on the actors to pull it off. And they did. Like I'm saying, sometimes they made these very filmy lines uh, so much fun, and it didn't. Those were the characters who could have easily become caricatures, especially like a Purnav said character. Or at times when lines were really boring, like Anand Mahadevan character who's talking like just mechanically, and he just made it. He made it so human, and I don't know what he did. Like it was probably one of the most mechanical character. Or even Debashish,
Yeah,
that's one character we always thought, because we know Debashish's contribution in the book and in the writing of the book, and there were so many interesting stories around him. Just using him, like a sidekick. But he made that character interesting. So a lot of time, see, therefore I'm saying it's not in writer, it's not writer's medium. Uh, you are just taking risk and hoping that someone will pull it off, uh, and they did. So yeah, uh, and honestly, those one-liners were important because otherwise it's a very boring world. There's so much facts, numbers, and terminology and banking terms that it was very important that the other part has to be a little more fun.
yeah.
So yeah, we were
So
taking that risk. It felt at times, or there, it thoda filmy hai, but I think that was also important. Again, that's again because see what is our memories of 80s and 90s. A lot of the recall value is the films.
yeah,
So a lot of time when he's throwing that stone in the sea and kind of framing it is and kind of just eating that ice cream, taking those walks. That's you know straight from Basu Chatterjee film. So I'm saying,
true.
so lot of times it might not happen. Probably people were different in 80s and 90s. But what is our recall value? It is Bollywood. It is Hindi films. So yeah. So when they're talking like that, it looks real.
What was one of the punchlines that you felt was very, matlab, of course, risk hai to isk hai has become some.
Yeah.
Abhi Naman just wrote it in the chat that he just wrote risk hai to isk hai. So
Yeah.
what was one of those punchlines that you felt was that you were really unsure of कि यार ये land होगा कि नहीं होगा, ये कहीं ज्यादा तो नहीं हो रहा, कोई ऐसी थी punchline screenplay में?
So see. So now, let me talk about this line only.
Yeah,
It was like Weber wrote it, and like it sounded right. But then I think Jay said, but why is Harsha saying this? So we found a way where the wife says it in some other context. So 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 the thing was that, yeah, I don't know if that there was a line we thought. Yeah, actually the line I thought and was when he's giving this Doordarshan interview and he says, "मैं lighter लेकर जेब में चलता हूँ and वो cigarette नहीं पीता," and
धमाका
I thought
करके.
that was going to be like that wouldn't work at that point, but it worked. It was in the trailer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it worked. I thought it might not work because one, that's a DD interview, and why is he talking like that? But that is what I'm saying. We also knew these people talk like that
Yeah.
because we were spending time with those people who were around Harshad Mehta, around that era, and kind of examples they will give you. A lot of those examples made into the final script. A lot of those dialogues directly made into the script. So we also knew this is like, it's okay if audience feel thoda filmy hai, but we are being authentic. You know, it's not like we're creating something which is completely fictional.
True.
So yeah, that was one line I thought my audience might be thoda zyada ho gaya.
ऐसा ऐसा किसी सीन के साथ भी हुआ था सर, जैसा कोई सीन में जिसमें like the scene that you guys took the path of dramatizing a little bit, like were you at any point thinking यार ये would people buy this, like कि ऐसा हुआ था, मतलब except for that scene where she meets Karamchand.
No. So I'm saying most of these things we thought people will think that ये तो writers ने अपने मर्जी से कुछ थोड़ा imagine कर लिया है. Like the whole governor meeting, it happened at some other location, but it feels completely filmy. Or when he comes running and he goes into that Fiat, and that actually happened. So it happened in a very similar way where he used to jog. So I'm saying lot of it is very authentic. We were more worried that we have to tone it down to make it look real. So our worry was that lot of time, like हम सब इसलिए कि थोड़ा कम कर देते हैं, because audience will feel that this is our imagination.
Yeah, probably because a lot of films are like after
even that scene happened where he goes to the SBI canteen and tries to find out by gossiping, did Harshad Mehta come or not. That actually happened. Somebody, like again, Debashi's character is a composite of a couple of other characters. So one of the Times of India guy went there, and the whole because that Lexus was so popular.
Yeah.
And used to send like almost that week, it was people were seeing that Lexus there, and there was a crowd to see that Lexus. Everybody knew Harshad Mehta was coming. He could have taken other car and nobody would have noticed. So one reason people notice is because of the car. So all this sounds, it sounds like we have imagined it, but a lot of it happened. Like we do not know who DT is. We do not know. That we are not calling it DT. It's called he's called DT in book because Suchit and Debashi had seen all the president men, and that's where it comes from. But we do not know who he is. So we were trying to make it real and authentic to the world rather than. A lot of it didn't make to the final script because that would have looked like this is completely imagination. Could have not happened. We were trying to tone that. Even the tape recording he does, that's in the book. That we have not seen the tape, but he did record a tape.
Okay. So when you like say scenes like this where you don't have a reference point because you guys didn't see the tape, and you're imagining a person who actually existed, how much how do you go about what actually helps you in terms of writing the scenes with this character, writing his mannerisms, his dialogues, that for scenes that you do not have any reference point for?
So for the tape, what we did have the press conference.
Okay.
So what you see in the final edit is like I think few seconds of those press conference. It's a long press conference. So lot of what he's saying in the tape is from that press conference. Again, it's not our imagination. Again, we try to punctuate it with a lot of what was happening around. Like when he's saying कि बाबरी मस्जिद and दंगे हो गए हैं, but मुझे उनसे डर नहीं लगता, मुझे CBI से लगता है. But a lot of what he's talking, how he gave the money and who he gave the money and when did he travel, that's all in the press conference. So idea is to, whenever you're writing, it has to look authentic. Is there a reference for it? A lot of these, like for example, that the income tax rate, it happened with someone else, around same time in a similar way where somebody had informed. So we said it will be good to incorporate that in Harshad's story, because that rate did happen. How it happened, we didn't know. We found other reference. Again, like meeting people in planes. That again might sound like, this is a coincidence that he's meeting someone in the plane. But people did tell us that because traveling in business class used to be, or I don't know whether it was called first class then, was costly. And people who used to travel were actually these bankers and businessmen. So a lot of people used to take those flights so that, because then you are not moving anywhere for 1 hour.
Yeah.
So a lot of these brokers and small time businessmen used to spend money on that flight so that they can bump into people like these. And as far as mannerism is concerned, that Hansal was very clear. We are not creating. We are not. It's not like Prateek has to be what real Harshad Mehta was. Because now people hardly like there are not many interviews of Harshad Mehta. That's just one interview, which is in the end also of the show, which is with the Pritish Nandi. That's the only interview. So we were not worried about the mannerism and all that. It should feel like he is Harshad Mehta. What Hansal also did with Shahid. He had the same approach in Shahid. So that was the same approach. We were not trying to create somebody, a replica of Harshad Mehta. You have to feel that he's Harshad Mehta, and which Prateek did.
Yeah, sure, totally. And we almost feel that, okay, this is what he must have been like. So that's a great thing.
Which he is like, if the personality wise, the kind of charm he had. So again, a lot of those scenes where he's in wedding and everybody wants his attention, and those are the scenes people have told us. So when we were doing research, everybody had a Harshad Mehta story. Like Bhavna Sumaya, she tweeted, I think, few days back that her memory of Harshad Mehta was she had gone to airport to pick someone, and Harshad Mehta walked out and she shouted Harshad, and everybody started clapping. So that was like, if I write that scene, people say, oh, ye to thoda matlab zyada imagination ho gaya. But he was that popular. So I think Prateek has brought in that the charm, the personality. There was a reason he was called Amitabh Bachchan of BSC. So a lot of these scenes, people have told us that in some wedding they were there and Harshad Mehta walks in and what happened. So that was great for drama. So so that's how we started building that character.
When you were writing it, there's a very peculiar thing that happens in the show. It starts off with Harshad Mehta being the protagonist. After a point where the news gets revealed to Sucheta Dalal, she becomes the protagonist. And in the end, we're back to Harshad. Was that a conscious thing that you guys did, or were you guys ever thinking about who's the protagonist, what's the obstacle, what's the third act, and everything, all that jargon?
No. So we were trying to tell the story as it happened. Okay. We were very clear. We are not going to take side. We are not going to turn Harshad Mehta into a hero, because see, it's very tricky to write a character like this, because in the end, even in Narcos, you feel bad for Pablo because you have seen that journey. So we were very clear. We are not going to do extra to make him hero, because it's an underdog story, and you are seeing that rise emotionally. You are with him. But it's very important to see, the other side of it. Because so that other side was important. At every point, somebody needs to question him, his methods, whether it's his brother, whether his partner, whether Sucheta, whether the friend's wife, so or the CBI or the RBI. So everyone has to question Harshad and his methods, so that he doesn't become this hero, which eventually he will. That's a tricky part of writing a character like that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we were also very clear that even in book, it's very clear that it's the flaw of the system. If anyone who's the villain is the system. Was he a criminal? Yes. Did he deserve that kind of death? No. There could have been 100 other ways to solve it. Did RBI could have called all these bankers, all these brokers, did a meeting, asked how much money everyone owns, and there could have been 100 ways to settle it down. But because the problem was with the system, and because everyone was involved, that happened with every big fraud or scam, that you have to pinpoint, make somebody scapegoat, and the system didn't change. So that structure, it was not planned, but that was I think the logical structure to this story, that you see the rise, you see somebody questioning, but then you realize that if somebody is the villain, that's the system and not one individual.
Yeah. I'm talking about the in terms of the technicality of it. Like, you because we are with this character till episode
Yeah.
5 or 6 or wherever Sucheta's track becomes more prominent. Uh, we are with him. We are seeing his goals. He has a goal. Whether he achieves it or not, we are with him totally. Now, to take that kind of a leap where you're like, okay, let's just focus on, and it's not just we leave him. From a very subjective narrative of seeing it through Harshad's eyes, when Sucheta's track becomes prominent, we are like Sucheta, and we're like everyone who is like the stories that we hear कि अच्छा हर्षद मेहता ने ये किया हर्षद मेहता ने
Yeah.
there's a lot of hearsay, and even
Yeah.
when we see Harshad as that guy who is being like he's being angry with people, so we feel distanced from him.
Yeah.
That is very that is done very smartly, very cleverly. So how did you guys achieve that effect is what I was
See,
asking. Then
that's what I'm
coming
saying.
back,
It's a very logical journey. You let it's uh, the character is evolving in itself. We need not force it. We would start forcing things if we say कि अच्छा नहीं, we have to make him a hero, which a lot of biopics do in India. That every fault a character has, somebody else is responsible for.
true.
We said, okay, this is the person, this is his journey, this is Suchita's side. Let audience see. You are reacting like that. That's your point of view. Lot of people on Twitter think he is a hero. A lot of people on Twitter think Sucheta did great by bringing this out. So now, because we were being very neutral, like nobody was a hero for, and that, see, even I think that's great on Sucheta's part that she allowed us to do a scene like where the wife is questioning her.
Yeah.
So we were just treating them as characters rather than heroes and villains. Like, even if you see a character like Tyagi,
Yeah.
you feel he's a villain, but what he's doing, he's not like he's not typical villain where he's doing something wrong. So if
Yeah.
you from his point of view, what he's doing is exactly right, and therefore we gave him a scene where he's questioning JPC,
Yeah.
saying, "Why are you is my crime because I'm successful? What is my crime? That being successful." So everyone is is CBI wrong?
Yeah.
In a way, it might that's probably the wrong method they are using to solve the crime. But are they wrong? So everyone, we were just treating them as a character and let audience react. We were very clear. We are not going to take sides.
Yeah, but what I meant
That
to
was that. That's
what I meant to ask you is that, like, this of course is what when the show is done and we're
yeah,
receiving it that way. But when you are writing it, we are with the character's journey for a while. We go to another character. I'm not talking about in terms of antagonist
yeah.
protagonist. I'm saying Sucheta's stories. Now, once you come back to him, and while Sucheta's journey is going on, there's this fear that we might lose connect with Harshad's side of the story, or while Harshad's story is going on, we might lose connect with Suchita's morality or whatever it is that she is being driven by. So I was talking in terms of when you were writing it, how did you balance that?
So that is what I'm saying. If you see throughout, we started putting these scenes where somebody is questioning Harsha.
Okay.
And see, even before the scam, he has become that, almost like an anti-hero. And, he starts saying things like, "मैं history बना दी है मैंने." He started doing those ads like that. Harshad Mehta is a liar is a real ad, by
Yeah,
the way.
I
So
googled
yeah,
that.
so he started doing things like that.
Yeah.
So you're already feeling that this guy is, what is he becoming? I don't know how audience. I cannot, because I'm very close to the material. I don't know how audience react to it, but we are trying to make him this. He is going somewhere where only thing possible is the fall, and he's so confident about it, and the way he talks to his brother or the partner or friends, that by the time of the story shifts to Sucheta, you are with Sucheta. You start feeling that there is something wrong with this guy.
Because before that, you have planted those scenes where he's being questioned.
Yeah, yeah. So that starts happening right from the Lexus scene. If you see it in the episode, where even where he goes and meets these ONGC guys and say, मैं तो government को भी profit बना कर दूंगा, and then he's giving some gyan in that party. And if you see his tone is completely different from what he was talking earlier, that everything is research and we do a lot of research and everything is calculated, and then in the party he's saying ये कुछ नहीं है, it's all gambling. So I'm saying he has, I think, I don't know how audience react to it, but subconsciously he's becoming this different person where he's saying, I will pay you 10 lakh more to to buy this car. And his brother questions him, that why are you doing this? And he say, people should know who Mehtas are. So he's becoming that, in a way he's going towards that dark side.
So you did that like तो basically जब हम सुचेता का point of view तक जब तक हम पहुंचते हैं, हम already हर्षद को एक बदला हुआ इंसान देख चुके हैं. So that we are with Sucheta, and while Sucheta is going on, हम वापस उस पे आते हैं. Cool. So now coming to the editing of the show, how did you end up editing the show? Was it pre-planned or like it was later on?
So I think Hansel wanted me to edit it, but I knew it's going to be a 6 month, 7th month thing, and I was doing something else. So also it's a very technical show. See, we spent 1.5 years to understand it and write it, and we were researching while writing it. Now imagine when that has to be edited. It's easier to do the drama scene, but even for editor like Kunal, it was very difficult to understand कि ये हो क्या रहा है, because a lot of these crowd scenes वैसा नहीं है. There are claps and sometimes it's happening. Because there are 500 extras you're shooting, and so what happened then the lockdown happened.
While you were shooting?
No, just when the editing had started.
Okay.
So we ended up shooting in Feb and I think March, and there was lockdown. So ideally what would have happened, probably I would have gone or Saurabh would have gone, or somebody would have gone, sat with the editor and helped him understand all the technicalities and all that. But the lockdown happened, and then Hansel started showing me something, and I said, okay, probably this technically this is wrong. Can we do it like this? And so he said, why don't you also start editing it then? Because it's very difficult otherwise in lockdown to meet any Kunal, and he knew I edit. So I said, okay, now I don't know how long this lockdown is going to go. Let me start editing it. So that's how I came in the project. So Kunal has already edited a lot of it, I think 5-6 episodes. So I started like technically correcting it, and the pace Hansel wanted. So that's how I came. Like it was not planned, but I think because of the lockdown that happened. And then once you start editing, I started in April and I was editing till October.
So like this is a question that my friend asked, that how much like you edited the show, how does it help being a writer who also edits, or vice versa?
So I can only talk about my process. I don't know how other writers write. But again, because in the beginning I said I don't think it's a writer's medium. It's something which is finally going to be. It's a visual medium. So I need to start seeing the scene when I'm writing. I need to understand how it's going to get edited, and I'm sure that helps. Like especially when there are complicated montage and you're saying, oh, this sound will come here, and this will be the cut. Like I gave you the example of that Ek Chidiya, Anek Chidiya. Like we knew that he will give this example, and it has been written like that. The music starts playing and then it goes on the TV. I'm sure like some of the writers can write it without understanding the editing. But I need to see it, how these transitions are happening, or how the climax plays. That we have that that interview was happening there. So can we take those 2 lines, make it a voiceover here, and then cut it between the family, him and jail, hospital, and have this voiceover. So that I think is helpful if you understand editing. For me, I need to see that scene. I need to know how the transitions are happening, and sometimes it helps because this, you're giving extra information in the script. This is the first thing which is as an editor you will take out. And in editing, what helps is that, of course, you can, save a lot of what was wrong with the script. Like you like all the faults with the screenplay had probably. Now you start seeing uh, that probably you wrote extra. So then you start. So you can make the narrative, but it's like rewriting, right?
Yeah.
It's where actually everything starts coming together. So you always end up writing little more, but in editing, that's how you're saying the screenplay is good. Nobody has read the screenplay. So so yeah,
Yeah.
so I can like lot of faults which were with the screenplay. You can save them in the editing, and lot of scenes which were written because there were too many suggestions. You can take them out and say, I told you before that this will not work. You
If you
can
had
do that
not
also.
if you had not written the screenplay and then if you had gone and editing it, how different would you think? Do you think the show would have turned out?
It would have been very difficult for a show like that. I'm just talking about this show because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very technical, and some of those like some of those things where, especially in episode 1 and 2, where all the somebody say they're trying to short the share, or some inside information is coming, somebody's calling. It's very difficult to understand. So that I think therefore I came in the project to simplify it, give that space, how much to put, because it's for someone who has come in the project and hearing those things for first time. Kunal was not doing research for like 1.5 years. It is going to be difficult for anyone. So in this project, it definitely helped, but I was very clear. I am not going to react to the screenplay. I'm going to react to the, I'm not going to react to अच्छा ये scene. It was very nice scene. बहुत अच्छा dialogue लिखा था, इतना अच्छा था. I will keep it. I was very clear. I was going to react to the, a lot of times I have cut things and I've been told to, no, keep that. That is working.
Yeah.
So I was reacting to the material rather than because sometimes you can see, that is the thing. Again, in writing, it's easy to explain things. On screen, it's very difficult.
True. So the pacing of the show is very, it's as you said in the beginning as well, that you guys were thinking of it as a 10-hour long film,
Yeah.
and the pacing is like that. It's very consistent. It's not like every episode starts building up from scratch. It's right there where you left it.
Yeah.
So to hold that rhythm, what were the things that, if you could talk in specific about how the scenes were, like, even as editors, people tend to focus a little bit that, okay, what's the magnification that I'm using? There has to be variation of image sizes and everything. What were the specific things that you kept in mind while kind of, you and of course the co-editor, while kind of making that pace hold?
So I think Hansal is someone who, rather than lensing and everything, I think it's the emotion of the scene which is more important for him. When you cut and how much the reaction time is and how much you hold. Again, I do not. It's something you react to. You're watching, and like I am someone who keeps watching it. Like once I've edited, I will watch it on my laptop. I will watch it on my TV. I will keep watching it and just see if the rhythm is right. I don't know if there's a formula to do that. It is you are reacting to the scene as an audience. And one thing I make sure is that I think, because I have seen the footage many times and I know the technicalities, I need to give that little, like probably a second more to the audience. What happens is I've realized that so a lot of people confuse the duration with the pace.
Yeah.
Lot of time the smaller film feel much longer to you because you are behind what the film is saying. So you are detached with it. The moment you are detached with it, there's a problem. You start feeling, even if it's a 90-minute thing, it starts feeling longer. Now, a lot of people have said Scam is long, but unless they have said after one episode, I am not watching it, then it's long. If you after 10 episodes you feel it was long, but I enjoyed it, it could have been cut, I do not have problem with that, because I know why it's long, because I have to keep repeating some of the information in a technical show like this.
Yeah.
So after 10, once you're seeing it, then you can say it was long. But if I would be more worried if it was short and you would have stopped after second episode. So I don't know if there's a formula. It's also like I will show it to Hansal. Hansal will react to it. It's you're reacting to those images, those dialogues, and just giving it that time where I don't know if there's a formula to it, or you go into saying this is the rhythm I'm going to get. This is what we are targeting for. It's I probably that can done in a formula film which has a very clear structure, and where you say it is going to be 2 hours, but that is also because we are not going for that every episode has to be 45 minutes. Array, this is now 55.
Yeah,
I think the last episode is 1 hour, so we are treating it like one film,
true.
and we are going for that pace. It's okay if 1 hour 10 minutes, but that mood has to be there. If you see sixth episode little fast, but we still try to slow it down at places. It's I think 35 minutes, 39, I don't know, it's between 35 to 40 minutes.
38, I think.
Yeah, something like something we were going that what is important for that episode. If is there even sixth episode starts with very it's quite relaxed in the beginning. It's intercutting between the canteen and the that cafe, and till that news comes that if he gives that check, the news has to come tonight, and then the pace little bit changes. But again, we hold it down to say when he says now you need that call, need that confirmation. So we slow it down now, because now audience want that thing to come, but you slow it down. Then even that scene happens in between where R.K. Lakshman comes. So you have slowed it down. So I think I don't know if there's a formula to it. You do it subconsciously. You are reacting to the material. You seeing it. So one trick is, I think, seeing it multiple times, keep seeing it. Like I still see it and I say, there's so many flaws with it. This is short, this is long. I could have given little more stage. So therefore they say editing never stops. You just give up and say, okay, there's never a final cut.
So there's no other season that's coming.
No, not. There might be. So it's like True Detective. You pick up a different scam and
scam some other year, some other story. Yeah.
But it ends. It has a very clear end to it.
Cool.
With all the supers and old footage, and that's a long episode.
Okay. So even like there's this very clear Hansal sir kind of an edit where he cuts between the real footage and the things that he shot.
I think he's done that with his last film a lot.
Mehta.
I've not seen that film.
Okay.
But I think here we decided to using this particular scene again. That's fair that audience will say hey, these dialogues, so they have imagined. Somebody saying it's not a Harshad Mehta scam. So we wanted to tell audience that see, this actually happened. This is something real. It's not we are imagining something. And I recently then saw, because somebody kept on telling me, it's like Looming Tower. It's like Looming Tower does this. So I have not seen Looming Tower. So I recently saw Looming Tower. Looming Tower does it in another way, where they play the same scene in the beginning, where actors are saying it, and in the end, like just before the credits, the newsreel plays where they've seen.
Yeah.
So again, it has the same effect because the kind of lines they are saying, you say this is so complete drama.
Yeah.
And then you see it. So I think we did it for that effect. I don't know how it's in Hansal's other films. I don't remember whether Shahid has. I don't think Shahid or Aligarh.
No, Shahid doesn't have that.
So we were very clear why we were doing it.
And other question that I had was that so the political nature of the show, where you're commenting on a certain time period and a certain prime minister. Now, do you think that now that the kind of regime that we're under, living under, the show that you guys got the kind of like a leverage to talk about Rajiv Gandhi and his policies, do you think this would have been possible to make in 2012 or 2013? I mean, it's much more difficult to be political now, but
I think
in Sacred Games as well. In Sacred Games as well, yeah.
But we did see again when we came in the project, we were not worried about whether we will be able to do these things or not. If you watch the show again, you will realize we have used, who is he talking about and all that. But there are tricks which have been used in screenplay, which is where he's just his version. He's talking about it. There's no way to prove it. That's also what the book says.
Yeah.
So there are ways to tell it, but yeah, I I do not know whether it would have been possible before 2014,
Yeah.
or whether if you want to make something else right now, which questions the
Yeah.
current government whether that
Yeah.
would be possible or not.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that should be allowed. I would like to do that, and I know some of the stories I want to tell are very difficult to tell. You know, like I think even in Bangistan we faced that. What we
Yeah.
saw
I was
was
coming
finally
to
a
Pakistan.
watered down version of what it was,
Yeah.
and probably that's why it didn't work. Uh, but I'm saying I cannot comment whether it would have been possible in before 2014 or not. But I know, like, if you question current government, it would be difficult.
True.
It would be difficult. I cannot talk about whether scam would be possible before 2014 or not. You have to find ways to tell it, but yeah.
So now I was coming to Bangistan, and you kind of started that. So, in what do you think was because Bangistan, when we saw the trailer and we were very into the idea. The idea was very exciting. The two
Yeah.
suicide bombers, almost parallel, almost same to
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
What do you think went wrong with that?
It's very difficult. Like, it's asking what worked for scam. I do not know. I thought it's honestly, I'm very surprised with the reaction uh, because the how big the show has become. You know, the kind of calls we are getting, the way industry is talking about it. So we never imagined it. We thought it's on a new platform, smaller platform.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any stars. It's set in financial world. How many people will see it? Okay, we'll get some good reviews. We knew it was a decent show. So I do not know what went wrong with Pakistan that way, because whoever read the script said, oh, it's a great script, and we uh, uh, it's very difficult. I am not the right person to answer what, because it was honestly one of the most fun scripts. It just writing that script was so much fun, and everybody knows that. Therefore, we continued. Like, Excel produced it. We were completely outsiders. They produced
Yeah.
it because they read the script. So and they continued to work with us. Like,
Yeah.
same team went on to write Inside Edge, Mirzapur.
Yeah.
So everyone knew that was a great script. What went wrong? It's very difficult to say.
Yeah. It was very funny. I mean, ये दाढ़ी देखो इसकी कितनी
Yeah,
लंबी
so I'm
है.
saying, I honestly, I do not know.
Yeah.
Like, we did originally, when we were writing it as an indie thing, it was little like, then
A little
that script
direct.
we would have never
Yeah.
able to make. But yeah, still, like, I do not know what went wrong.
So it was written as an indie film.
See, currently we were writing it because we had nothing else to do. We said we at least write something, we believe in.
Yeah.
So it was always written as an indie film, and when Karan had just sent it to Excel, and they said we like it, we'll make it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so therefore we thought, and everyone who read it, and people still, so a lot of work we got because a lot of those people had read the script.
Yeah. So yeah, with that note, let's. I have some of the questions with me that people have sent in. So this is a question from Amitabha Sunavane. So the question is that what is the procedure and method while approaching a production house? How do you decode your charge for the script?
So I am a very bad person to answer this because I've been just lucky that like I said, I do not know this because how Bangistan happened was we had a script, Karan sent it to Excel, they liked it, they called us, and then I think these people were developing Inside Edge, and Amazon has just come to India. Excel knew about it, that we have 5 episodes ready. They said let's do it. I've already told you how scam happened.
Yeah.
So I am not the right person to answer. How do you approach? But honestly, all production houses right now, you can send your script to them, and there are people who read it. They have experts who read it, and most of them will respond to you, uh, whether they're going ahead with or not. Sometimes they will even give you feedback why we are not going ahead. They might want a different draft of it. So I think now it's much more simpler. I think every production house has somebody, who's taking care of the creatives and creative development. So I think that's the way to approach. I think just send the synopsis, register it with the screenplay writers association, and start mailing it. I think everyone is looking for good scripts, and
Yeah,
if they find it interesting, I think they will react to it.
definitely. So, yeah, Naman asks this question in context to what we were talking about being an editor who's also a writer who's also an editor.
Yeah.
So he asks us that, but knowing the edit, does it restrict in some way while you're writing that, okay, uh, because you start thinking a lot about how it's going to be shot, does that in a way restrict your writing?
No, actually, I see, if you understand edit, you will also understand that you need little bit extra material to play with. So you will always write little bit. It's not like you say, "Acha, yahan par," like I sometimes feel like even when we're, especially in documentaries, because I also make documentaries, and documentaries. Like I always feel DOPs shoot little less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am, as an editor, I will always, if I am an editor and I am shooting something, I will always shoot little more. Just instead of saying cut, I will just, sometimes you find those moments, small pauses, and something happens. So if I do not like, when I'm talking about this, I'm just talking about the structure. That
Yeah.
can I see the transition? Can I see, the how this the say, I will have to still, if I'm going to overlap that dialogue in the next scene, I will still like that to be in the scene, and let actors say it on location rather than just a dub में देखेंगे. So if you understand those little things, I think it's उल्टा actually. वो आप हर समय थोड़ा सा ज्यादा लिखेंगे, ये समझकर कि एडिट में जरूरत पड़ेगा इन मोमेंट्स का.
Kiran Shindeshi asks us that writing alone versus in collaboration, how do you find good writers to collaborate with? I mean, what was the process like of collaborating with another writer? What's that like for you?
Again, I think it again will depend on individual to individual.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Saurav is someone I know from 2008. We have been writing from 2008 together. So it's just one, you have to like similar kind of things, like similar kind of cinema. You have to have similar kind of approach towards storytelling. I think that, and you have to one. I think especially in a writer room scenario where different people have different opinions, you have to realize that none of them is wrong. And there will be always these debates and arguments, and that should end in the writer's room. Once you start carrying those egos out, and I am right and that person is wrong, I think that becomes a problem. So usually I write with people who I can argue with, debate with, and we can really fight over it, but that ends there. So I think it's good if like in Scam's case, Saurav knew everything about share market. I didn't, so it helped.
Yeah.
In this case, in a different script, it will be different. So just find someone who has similar taste and believes in similar kind of politics, similar kind of storytelling, like similar kind of cinema. I think again there is no formula to do that. I write with a lot of different people. Like Puneet, who is the creator and writer of Mirzapur, he is probably my oldest friend. I wrote Bangistan with him. I've worked on a couple of other scripts with him. So you have to be just comfortable. Like Mirzapur is completely different, so Scam is completely different. But we know we can collaborate on something else.
Yeah. So yeah, Ankit Prakash asks you that did you write the CBI officer part, Madhavan's part, keeping Rajat sir in mind, or was it improvised during the shoot? He's so kick-ass in the film. That he is. Yeah.
I think a lot of those dialogues are in the script.
He
But
meant in
again,
terms
what?
of the casting. Did you guys keep Rajat sir
No,
in
no, no.
mind?
We had no idea. I think Rajat would have been the last person we would have imagined as Madhavan.
Yeah.
Though surprisingly, I think I recently saw Madhavan's photograph and I realized he also looks like Madhavan, a younger version of Madhavan. Uh, so I think this, see, again, imagine the same character, somebody else, like I wouldn't name the actor, but I'm saying, imagine कि वो वही typical CBI, first name
KK
which would
Menon. KK
comes in
Menon.
mind. I don't know, KK Menon could have also done it in a completely fresh way, but
Yeah.
I'm saying, let's say कि वो जो Bollywood CBI officer होता है,
ठीक है
honestly,
भाई.
it's written like that
Yeah.
because CBI was like that. They didn't understand the scam. They said कि
Yeah.
torture करो बस, जो है, psychological torture. Now, what Rajat did was Rajat brought something else to say same dialogues. Again, those dialogues are very filmy, some of them. कि सर आप तोता हो, and I'm sure they do not talk like that
Yeah.
up to you, but he made it so real. So there were all obviously small, improvisation where he says something in Tamil and he replies. Those small improvisations. That one great improvisation is that where he breaks the phone, where Harshad is trying to make that call.
Yeah.
And he suddenly takes, like I think everyone was shocked, and then so he continues that. Then he sits and he's something falls and he says, "अरे यार चीजें तोड़ो मत यार." Yes, वो फोन तोड़ने के बाद, then I think वो उसके बाद he continues improvising it where he says कि आपके यहाँ कुछ ढोकला बहुत अच्छा मिलता है. And Ashwin doesn't know whether he has to bring it or not. That's
that's yeah.
It
felt very organic. Yeah, it was almost like it was not
I
written.
think because he's himself a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You understand these little things.
Yeah.
Like so I think the dialogues were there, but he made them sound like everything is improvised, which is great because those lines were very difficult lines.
There was a scene where he says कि मतलब he starts Sitaraman says कि sir वो बहुत Tamil से मैं दिल्ली से हूँ. So that was like, was that was that a tactic that the character was doing कि अच्छा मतलब there's no familiarity that can grow here.
Yeah. So but I don't think that complete. I don't think that was in script. I think Ansal improvised it right there. They found someone who can speak Tamil on the set. So I think that part was. I doubt it might be in some other way. It might be in the script. But he's trying to do the वो कि अच्छा sir मैं भी तमिल आप भी तमिल. And I think Madhavan is not from Tamil Nadu. He's from the border of, I think, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. So he can speak a little bit of Tamil. But because Rajat was doing it, improvising, मैं तो दिल्ली से हूँ. मैं वो वाला तमिल नहीं.
So yeah, there's another thing that Amar Vakharia has asked us that what's the one thing you would like to say to all those aspiring filmmakers who face lack of resources or struggling to find work? Basically, everyone who's starting out. So what's the one thing you'd like to say to them?
I say just see these days I think the filmmaking has become like it has become easier, right? You can shoot on mobile cameras and you can edit on your laptops. People edit on their mobile phones now. So I think you need to just find. The problem is that you need to understand वो जो technology है. If you're shooting on mobile phone, do not try to replicate a blockbuster.
Yes.
When you're deciding, अच्छा मेरे पास mobile phone है, then find a story which is important to, which you can tell on a mobile camera. Do not try to replicate it. Find those stories which will make sense when they are being told on smaller camera.
Yeah.
Problem here happens is that with a lot of big cameras, we shoot films which could have been shot on mobile cameras.
Yeah.
So I think I think try to tell stories you believe in. Find those stories. There's so many stories, and with so much platform, YouTube and film festivals, I am sure if you have an exciting story, you find a way. Like honestly, we would have never thought that the studio like Excel will make Bangalore.
True.
And this key debate that people are outsiders and they need to be, some connection. We were outsiders. We just So if you have a story, keep sending it, or find stories which you can tell on using equipment you have, and that's how the indie film always have been. It's much more easier now.
Yeah.
With when there used to be Super 16, Super 8, it was much more difficult. Now to you are not even, you can go reshoot, uh, keep shooting it, and a lot of these indie films are made like that.
True.
So I think, yeah, it also depends on what you want to do, what kind of stories you want to do. So again, there's no one advice, or I cannot tell you. It will depend on, you will have to find a way to go to a film school, if possible, learn filmmaking. One thing is, yeah, so I keep saying this, uh, learn the craft. I think the problem is that uh, uh, the craft becomes, in our films, craft becomes secondary. So if it's about filmmaking, it's only one. I think it's an art form. I come from a art background. I did my graduation in fine arts, art history and aesthetics. So for me, is the extension of that.
Yeah.
But it's the only form where the craft, like, you wouldn't look at a painting and say, yeah, the subject bahut acha tha.
Yeah.
It's only in the filmmaking you say. It's also because it's incorporating the. It's also trying to tell the story. But ultimately, it's an audio-visual medium. It can exist without the story, but it cannot exist without the visuals. So just work on the craft. I think that is very important. And with now everything available on online, and all those interesting video essays and courses available online, work on the craft. I think that is very important.
Before going, what's next for you, sir? What are you working on next?
So lots of things I cannot talk about it, because I am also not very sure. Immediate next is, I've been trying to make a documentary. The edit was ready, but then the lockdown happened, so I have to finish the post of it. That's also like, it will. You have done a big show now. It's good to go back to something which you have produced on your own, and so that is one thing I want to complete the post production of it. And then there are a couple of scripts I'm working on, which for reasons I cannot talk right now. But yeah, so immediate is the documentary, which I have to complete, and then other writings.
Sure, we'll love to have you again, sir, after that
Yes,
documentary.
thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
So with this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in. Thank you so much for doing this, sir. It was great having you.
Thank you. Thanks.